Hi everyone, Luna here, and today's video is going to be a different type of video in the sense that this is not a VOD. Today I'm going to be doing a review of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and give my opinion based on the game, in my experience and my experience alone. Yes, I'll be addressing the giant elephant that just trampled into the room, being the performance issues, cause yeah, there were some. However, my experience was nowhere near as bad as others I'm seeing on Twitter, or on Instagram, Facebook, or anywhere on the internet. Also, I'm going to be completely upfront about the video itself. These reviews are going to be meant to be created in a podcast type style, so the footage of the game that's currently playing on the screen, I'm recording after I write and record this entire script, and has no true ties to the video itself except for maybe in some parts. I do know how to do some basic video editing, but that's extremely it. And for now, I'm just creating these for review as podcasts. So feel free to tap out and just listen to the video as you do homework, draw, or just let me distract you from your IRL job. Just don't let your boss find out. However, who knows, maybe while I'm doing the recording later, I'll even find a shiny. Neither of us will know. However, one other disclaimer that I'm going to throw out there is that during this review there may be some video and audio spoilers of the game and the new Pokemon and locations. So if you haven't played much of the game yet, especially if you got it for the holidays, this is your warning. However, if you do like the video, please do the YouTube thing and let me know how I can possibly improve on these type of videos in the future. Also, as a lastly disclaimer, I get very camera shy when it comes to recording. So even though I don't have a video recording, my audio might skip out and I'll trip over my words, but hopefully I'll be able to work on that in the future as well. So without further ado, these are my thoughts on Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet came out on November 18th of 2022, and I was hyped as sin for this game. I did my best to avoid being spoiled by the game in any means, so if it wasn't shown by the Pokemon Company or Game Freak, I never knew about it. The night before the game's release was very hard for me to complete this task because everyone had the game early because of the Japan and Australian eShops, and Twitter was flooding with all the new Pokemon, the event, environment, the characters, the shinies. Like, come on, can we talk for the shiny rate in this game for like all of 2 seconds? Space rate's supposed to be the same as Sword and Shield, but I don't even have the shiny charm at this time of this recording, and I already found 2 full-out shinies. One being a Mudbray on IRL day 3 of playing, and a shiny Noivern I caught like 2 weeks ago. And, of course, they also talked about how the game performs on the Switch. Despite that, I persevered, and the moment I woke up on the 18th, I ran to my Walmart, almost literally, and got Scarlet and Violet, came home, and started streaming the game almost immediately. I was quick to love the game and the Pokemon I met right out of the gate. Except for Tarantula and his evolved form Spidops. They can just burn, especially once I found out what they're based off of. I'll try to toss it on the screen if I can, but against my better judgment, just trust me when I say bleh. Then again, I don't like spiders. But Pokemon were everywhere, and I mean everywhere. More everywhere than Pokemon Legends Arceus could ever dream of. Which, yeah, had a lot of Pokemon on the screen at once, mostly through the mass outbreaks. Scarlet and Violet have like 20 to 30 Pokemon on the screen at a time, NPCs depending on your location, following Pokemon, and yourself, and a legendary on the screen all at once. This was something Game Freak tried to do with Legends Arceus, and it worked because there wasn't much going on in that game. Yet even then, I remember a lot of people bashing the graphics on Legends Arceus just as much as they are with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. While the game, for me, being on the OLED model, still jugged, I didn't care much. While I'm personally not the type to overly care about graphics of a game, depending on that game, I knew what Game Freak had intended for this generation, and that was to focus on open world aspects. And so far, they've been pulling it off decently. I'm not playing Call of Duty or Halo, or anything that needs super pristine graphics at top caliber. I want to have fun, I want to catch Pokemon, I want to battle with them. And because this game is the first to have true multiplayer beyond battles and trading, that's where I want the Game Freak to focus. But we'll get into that a tiny bit later. Let's focus on the single player for a moment. When you start the game, you get a lot of customization options for your character. These are also mostly the only customizations you get, and you can't change out of your uniform. So the customizations that you have for your hair, eyes, and your Rotom pokedex, once you set your character up, you get thrown out of your house, meet your starter, and your rival, Nemona. Shortly after you kick her ass, you meet your box legend, Miraidon or Koraidon. I focus mostly on Scarlet for my personal playthrough, since Violet I tried to Nuzlocke day 1 and failed. But for the purpose of this review, I'm going to be focusing on Koraidon, who is the box legend of Scarlet, and after he rescues you from the King of Houndour and Houndoom, it's revealed that he was injured and used the last bits of his power to rescue you. It's eventually given to you by a king named Arvin, and you are tasked by the game's professor to help revive the legendary Pokemon to their former glory. You then finally arrive to your school, which changes its name based on the version that you play. When I streamed Violet, the game was UVA, so I just went with the nerd route and started calling the academy UA Academy and screamed Plus Ultra whenever the game's school was mentioned. So that's what I'm going to do here. You do a few tutorial things and then you're free to roam around the world. You are also at this point given 3 campaigns to complete: Victory Road, Starfall Street, and Titan Chasing. I honestly forget the name of that campaign, don't at me. The nice thing about these campaigns is that you can do them kind of whenever you want. I spent the first few days alone just exploring and catching Pokemon and looking for the new Pokemon in the game to try to figure out where my team was going to be. Now I do say kinda because yes, you can do these campaigns in any order, but you can't do them in any order. Now let me explain. The game gives you badges for each boss in the 3 campaigns, so you have your usual 8 for your gym challenges in Victory Road, you have 5 from the Titan Quest, and you have 5 from Starfall Street, which is based on these rebel students from UA that are the game's quote-unquote evil team. AKA they're just a bunch of students that were horribly bullied and mistreated by UA's administrative team before the current director, Clavel, took over UA Academy. You can do these badges in any order, but you can't get to some locations until you complete specific badges of the Titan Quest, which is how you record Koraidon's abilities. These abilities allow you to access different parts of the world. So you can't just get your starter, challenge the final gym leader, and expect to win. If you do manage to get up to where the final gym leader is, you'll be encountered with level 60 Pokemon owned by Serebii, and you'll be kicked off your little "I'm a Pokemon Master" pedestal and treated like your name is Joey Wheeler. The badges are coded to be grouped, meaning the first 3 or 4 you get are mixed between 3 quest lines. Sure, you can technically pick a route and only complete that route until you get to the point you can't progress without doing one of the Titan Pokemon, and then overpower that quest to move along your intended route. That's completely an option. But the way Game Freak programmed the game is assuming that you're not going to do that and mix the badges levels to scale together. For example, levels 14 to 20 are actually intended to be handled by completing 2 gym trainers, 2 of the Titan quests, and if you decide to go down Starfall Street, you're probably going to be blown back unless you explored high health like I did. Shoot, that's actually the reason I failed my Nuzlocke I started on stream. I was playing Scarlet and went one way, and then when I did my Nuzlocke, I wanted to battle a specific Titan in order to get the ability I needed to get to another location, and was immediately overpowered and my lock was over. At that point, we were only a few days into the game, and I didn't know the badges actually still had a set path. Granted, that path is a little loose, but if you have the right team members, you can probably get around to the higher level Pokemon, but it's not as open world as we were led to believe. Is it a deal breaker? For me, no, because like I said, you can get around it a little bit, but you're not doing it as Game Freak intended, and you may have a harder challenge doing it. I won't even deny it. I'm debating doing such a run myself in the future, since my Violet save copy got completely deleted, so I have a completely fresh copy to work with again. You do get to run around the world to your little heart's content, as long as you're able to access these areas. Some of the higher level areas are purposely blocked off by bodies of water that you can't get across until you defeat the specific Titan. That gives Koraidon the ability to climb, swim, or jump. However, as I played, I rarely noticed the small limitations I had in place, because I was focusing on completing my pokedex, or getting into every nook and cranny to find new items, paths, and Pokemon. But it's not a full open world game that scales with you. It's more like an open world game to the degree of Elden Ring, where you can pretty much go wherever you want. Go too far in one direction, the game will quickly kick your teeth down your throat. It's pretty much just a kid-friendly version of Elden Ring instead of literally kicking teeth down your throat. Raids are another element that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet bring back, and they're pretty much the same that were featured in the previous generation of Sword and Shield. The only difference I find in these raids is they're set up around the new terrestrialization mechanic. Terrestrialization is a phenomenon in the Paldea region that's kind of like Dynamaxing in the Galar region. However, instead of making Pokemon bigger or changing their forms, you get this crystal hat that changes the secondary typing of the Pokemon into a Terra type from that raid. Let's take a look at the iconic Pokemon Charizard. Normally, Charizard is a fire flying type Pokemon, and depending on the Mega form in X and Y, it had the ability to become a Dragon type. With Terra types, you can make Charizard into a Fire Dragon, Fire Dark, etc. for any of the types that currently exist. Doing so gives you a small boost in your stats, and increase the power of the moves that reflect that Terra type. So for example, if I have a Dragon Terra type Charizard, if I give that Charizard Outrage, Dragon Claw, those moves will now have the stab, or same attack type bonus, and an even extra power boost on top of that. But, in reflection, you also gain the weaknesses of the Dragon type Pokemon to offset any potential OP mechanics. However, there's still ways in competitive modes that the Terra types have become broken. I won't go into those here, but once I completely finish my Pokedex, I'm going to start properly breeding to create my own Pokemon teams, so maybe you'll see them on Twitch someday, or even on the VODs. You can find raids all over the map, just like in the wild area of Pokemon Sword and Shield, as well as on Bulletin Board Online to help random players with raids and participate in events like the previous game. Raids change out every day, so finding the Pokemon you would want with a specific Terra type isn't too awfully hard, and you can also manually change the Terra type of a Pokemon with Terra Shards, which are obtained by completing raids either solo or as a group. I like the fact that they made raids like this time around, because if they just copy and pasted the raids from Sword and Shield, I feel like the community probably would have lost their minds in the negative way, especially since TMs are in a crafting system this game around, instead of being grinded by doing raids like they were in Sword and Shield. Yep, you heard me right. TMs are now created by crafting. Granted, you still find TMs around the world like in the previous games, and you get TMs from Victory Road gym leaders as well, but most of the time you're going to be crafting TMs using materials that wild Pokemon drop after you defeat them in a wild battle, or by using the auto battle feature. Or you can also use League Points, which act as a secondary currency in this generation, to buy materials. League Points are mostly used for TMs and buying items for the competitive scene, while the Pokédollars are used for everything else. I kinda like this because it made planning my movesets on my main team more difficult. I couldn't go find a ground type raid, win it, and end up with Earthquake on my level 20 Mudbray or anything like that. I had to find and defeat Vampy, Diglett, and Barboach until I had enough of their materials to craft Earthquake. And sometimes, Barboach can be very hard to do because they're actually a very rare spawn in Scarlet. I'm honestly not too sure about Violet. Lastly, we'll address the two giant elephants in the room, the performance and the multiplayer. Now, I played Scarlet on Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's Edition OLED and not on the base Switch. But I spent a lot more time playing the game solo, and I didn't have a lot of graphical errors. Yeah, you did have your environments and Pokemon spawn in and load as you go around the map, but like I mentioned previously, there's a lot going on. The only time I really noticed the stuttering graphics are in highly populated cities where some NPCs walking around look like they're part of Just Dance Flash Mob as they play Mr. Roboto. The other time I really noticed the problem was during the Sunflora gym test in the Grass Gym. This area is actually shown during the pre-release trailers, and the stuttering that us Americans saw in those trailers were very apparent in my game. I honestly wasn't a fan of the gym tests at all to begin with. I thought they were very catered to the younger audience and demographic, and not really memorable. But I'm actively hating the fact that I know whenever I pick up Violet again and restart my playthrough, I'm gonna have to do that damn Sunflora test again, and have the game be like 5 to 10 frames per second instead of the 30 it usually is. I also noticed the stuttering and lag happened a lot more in multiplayer as well, especially if you have a full room of 4 players. But my internet is not the greatest in the world, so I'm honestly unable to say if these stutters in multiplayer are due to the game itself or my internet trying to keep up with what my friends were trying to do. Now again, I'm the type of person that graphics don't mean the end of the world to me. If the game functions as intended, and the game is not meant to be a graphical phenomenon, then I'm not going to pitch a bitch fit over a few drop frames in internet. I mean, it could be worse. We could be back to playing black and white after gaining Diamond and Pearl, Heart of Gold, and Soul Silver. To this day, Unova is one of my most hated regions, and it's barely more hated than the Alola games. To this day, I still don't own Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon because that's how much I hated Alola. Well, the games anyway. The anime was super cute as hell despite Ash giving 2 legendaries, but that's a discussion for another day. As for the multiplayer, I felt like it was a little weird in my opinion. The way multiplayer works in this game is that you gather 3 additional friends together to play the game in one player's world. You pick a host, and that player opens up their world for the friends to come into the game. Those friends can go through the world with you, or they can split up and do whatever they want. This is especially handy if you're playing opposite versions of the game, because the friends will find Pokemon based on the host copy. For example, if I brought players into Pokemon Scarlet, and they're playing Violet, they'll be able to get my game's exclusives like Charcadet's evolved form of Armor Rouge, instead of getting Solar Edge, which is the form that's in Violet. The wonderful part of doing this is that the games will save the progression on the stories and the pokedex, so players can go through and tackle Titans, Gym Leaders, and Team Star, and when they go back to their world, they don't have to do it again. However, you can't do them together. What I mean by this is your party can't go all out and fight Titans together, Team Star, or even compete in gym battles. At the time of writing this, you can't even do raids together while you're in the same world. You'll technically get 2 batches of raids that you can compete against, but half of those raids will be the hosts, the other half will be the players brought in, and can only be bested by trainers they're intended for. I did a union with my friend Nick on his stream. I'll have his channel down below. And since I have a completed game, I had 4-star Rotoms that I could face. I tried getting him into my raid since I can easily handle the raid on my own, with Nick's help and 2 NPCs. But there was no option for him to join the raids. If he clicked on the raid crystal, the same raid that showed me a 4-star Rotom only showed him a 1-star Magikarp. There appeared to be an option to use the link code, but while we were together in the union room, it didn't give us the option to set up a code. I like the idea Game Freak was going with this open world union room, but I feel that if they were going to go down this route, they should have found some way to make the game be as open as humanly possible, as if you were playing solo. I could see them locking down the option to double team the gym leaders, but I feel the Titan campaign could easily be scaled to include Arven and a second or third player, and the same could be said for Team Star since you invade their bases and complete time trials by defeating a certain amount of Pokemon within a time limit. While exploring the world together is cool, that's really all you can do together. Yeah, you can still set up battles and trades, but that's how union rooms worked in the past. To me, there's no other positive thing about the union room multiplayer. It's possible Game Freak will do something with this feature in the future, but for now it just kind of feels there and not necessary as a feature. And I probably won't use it again unless I do some kind of challenge stream or something where players have to be in the same game to complete the task. So all in all, as a day 1 Pokemon veteran, I don't hate Scarlet and Violet. There's something about every mainline Pokemon game that the community blasts, and this time it's performance, but for some reason, yeah, it's there. But it's the wrong thing to nitpick because we're not playing Resident Evil or Horizon Zero Dawn, which is something that definitely won't work on the Switch. I'm looking at you, Capcom. We're playing a kid's game, and that's what Pokemon is at the end of the day. A children's game that we adults just happen to love. If you're really a Pokemon fan, definitely pick up at least one of these games, and just keep what I said in mind. This game is an amazing game, and some of the story elements are really fun. Others are lacking, but if you play competitive Pokemon, there's definitely Pokemon tailored to you. The Terra-type mechanic is fun on a competitive level, and the designs of the Pokemon themselves are actually fun to find and watch interact with the world. I love the companions of this game, and yeah, they're freaking good this time. Fuck off, Hop. And how. I'll be playing these games for a long time over the course of the next couple of years for sure. I'll be creating challenges for myself, streaming the games as I shine and hunt, and enter the competitive scene in the future. I don't know if I'll try to compete on a world-class level, but I'll be definitely doing something, and I can't wait to see what else Game